President Obama paid his first visit to a U.S. mosque Wednesday, working to confront bias that Muslim Americans say is increasing at an alarming rate amid public concerns about terrorism and extremism. The president focused on the need to speak out against bigotry, reject indifference. It's the kind of effort that Muslim Americans said they've been wanting from America's political and religious leaders for years. Let's get some perspective on this history in the making from Dr. Parvez Ahmed, UNF professor and former chairman of the Council on Islamic Relations, joining us here on The Morning Show.
Good morning.
Good to have you here, Parvez. The president's main objective is speaking out against a strain of Islamophobia that's aimed at preying on domestic terrorism. Here's what he had to say.
If we're serious about freedom of religion, and I'm speaking now to my fellow Christians who remain the majority in this country, we have to understand an attack on one faith is an attack on all our faiths.
Now, this is something that has entered the political discourse. Did the president successfully rebut that?
I think to a large extent. I think it was a great speech he made. He started his speech by recounting the Muslim presence in America, which is not new. As long as there has been an United States of America, there has been Muslims in this country. From the very foundation of this country, there have been Muslim presence in this country. So he has done a great job recounting that history, a history that is not often told. The first mosque was established in North Dakota. The oldest surviving mosque in the U.S. is well over 100 years old, and it's in Iowa. So the president did a great job talking about the contribution that Muslim Americans have made, from major athletes and celebrities like Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and many others, to ordinary Muslims, people like myself, people who are in professionals, doctors and teachers and moms and dads, raising families. So I think it was a good moment to remind the country, given the rhetoric that we have been hearing from some of the presidential candidates, particularly on the Republican side. I think the president did what was, I think, necessary to bring the country together.
Now, the president has visited mosques in other countries.
Yes.
First time he's visited an American mosque.
Right.
And Muslim leaders were basically upset that he waited until the last year of his presidency to go ahead and visit an American mosque. Too much, too little, too late, or water over the dam?
I think it is, personally, I wished he would have done this sooner. But I'm not sure if he had done it sooner, if it would have made a dent in the rhetoric that we are seeing from some of the presidential candidates. I think it is an election season, and as we know, in this election season, many minority groups, vulnerable minority groups like immigrants, African Americans, Muslims, gays and lesbians, and transgender people have been targeted to gain a few votes. This is the unfortunate reality that we are facing here today. So it is important for the president to do it. I wish he would have done it earlier, but I'm glad that he did it.
The president also called on members of the Muslim community to fight radicalization. Mm-hmm. What's the game plan to do that?
Well, the Muslim community has been fighting this for a long time. If you look at the number of reported terrorists or radicals that have been caught by law enforcement, by some estimates, 1/3 of those came from reports from the Muslim community, including one in Jacksonville over here. When I was on the board of the Islamic Center of Northeast Florida, we had a situation in our mosque where we heard about a person who was talking to younger people and trying to motivate them to join the jihad in Syria. And we reported him to the authorities. We felt that it might have some security implications, and it certainly appeared to us that it crossed the line of free speech. So when Muslim leaders are in a position to make those choices, I think by and large they have made those choices. Mosques are not the place where radicals are being recruited. If you look at the profile of the San Bernardino killers, you see that they had isolated themselves from the Muslim community. They had stopped going to the mosque years before they did this incident. So these terrorists, and particularly the ISIS brand of recruitment, is happening online and through social media, regardless of what the community is doing. So in some sense, the Muslim community is doing. Can it do more? I personally think, yes, it can do more.
The community at large needs to do more.
And so that's exactly my message, is that the fight against terrorism is not a fight that should divide us as a country. Muslims, people who are not Muslims, people who have do not follow any faith traditions should work together to resolve this issue, because the roots of terrorism is not faith-based. The roots of terrorism go through a multitude of social and political factors, and it's in all our interest to root that out.
It is a fight that should unite us,
Thank you.
Parvez. Thank you. Sure. Appreciate your perspective.